Right. Hello. This is High Priestess Jamila. Good morning. My sleep schedule has been so crazy. It has been super duper crazy. Um, but I woke up very early because I went to sleep like very early last night. Which I really don't like waking up this early. I'd rather wake up around 5 or 6 if I'm gonna wake up early. But I guess this is it. So good morning. I um I had made a video or a live, and I wanted to come and okay, here we go. I wanted to come and clarify something about that, about what I was talking about. And I didn't really even get the opportunity to go back and listen to that last discussion that I had, but I know that I didn't really like probably the way that I was coming across um, in that video. I'm not real sure of what I think that my energy may have been a little off. And what I was talking about was that the title of it was, your man should treat you better than your father. And so yeah, that is the truth. Um, I do believe that there are some people who, well, there are probably a lot of people whose father was absent for some reason or the other. Um, do I think that adults should become codependent on whether or not their father was there? Should a person's life be judged based upon if their father was there? Do I think that people can have a productive and happy life if your father wasn't there? Absolutely. I think that it depends on several factors and possibly even, how you were raised and who it was that raised you, right? So, um, but what I was saying was that if your father was there, sometimes it can have an opposite effect. It depends on how or what happened between your parents. But I do believe that spiritually, we can be fighting with certain entities, energies, demons, spirits that may be attached to our father. And I think that if you are someone that grew up with your father, in particular, if you had, hey, Joanne, hello. In particular, if you had a narcissistic father, because of I've been doing all sorts of research on narcissistic mothers, narcissistic fathers, and the very damaging effects that these people can have on our lives, because everybody is not narcissistic. Everybody didn't have a narcissistic parent. And so people that aren't going through that have a really hard time understanding. Okay. And I think that you should. I think that regardless to if you had a excellent upbringing, I think that people should definitely be empathic to people that have had a different experience. That's just like some people will say, well, I don't understand, Jamila, how you can speak that way about your mother. And it's like, you didn't understand how I could speak that way about my mother when she tried to ruin my life and she lied on me. And it was an obvious lie that she just told just to screw me up. Like, you didn't get that. Like, and it's some people, and you know what, you don't expect for everybody to understand, but I think that other narcs can gaslight you, when they can see that something terrible is happening, and they're like, if I think that it can be it is extremely traumatizing, having a parent betray you in that way. It is extremely traumatizing because you are supposed to be able to trust your parents. Okay, you're supposed to be able to trust your parents. You're supposed to trust your parents to the point where they won't be plotting against you behind your back. They won't be playing these sick narcissistic games. They won't be, doing things like that. And I think that if a person if your parent truly is narcissistic, you're not going to hear from them. Everybody knows how that is. Like if I felt that my kids felt some type of way about me, I would be calling them every day. I would be up there out. I'd be like, hey, if a parent disappears, then that's kind of a sign that you're right, because nobody should do those kinds of things and then not contact you and at least explain, or at least check on you and at least explain why they did it. Why were you in social media lying on me? Why did you do it? A narcissistic parent is not going to make contact with that child and say, because if they're a liar, the proof is in the pudding. If a narc parent comes out in social media or does anything to betray you, talk about you behind your back, and then you confront them about it and they don't contact you or say anything, well, then you were 100% correct about what you were saying about that parent, right? I mean, seriously, if you ever suspected, okay, I think that either my parent turned against me or something, and you're speaking about it and they don't contact you, they don't say anything to you for years and years. I mean, who does that with their children? A non-narc parent is gonna, if I were to ever hear my kid saying anything about me in social media, the first thing I'm gonna do is contact them. And if she was lying on me, I would say, hey, what is going on? I didn't, where, what? I would be handling that situation as a loving parent. I would not avoid, sneak around, troll. That's number one sign that, something ain't right there. Okay, just saying. But when it comes to especially mothers and fathers that are narcissistic, if you had either one, a lot of us women have found that we found that we have been sort of treated badly in relationships. And even sometimes a huge dynamic of it is your partner or your significant other talking to your narc parent, or them plotting against you. And see, narcissistic parents, they can't just let you be normal. They're constantly stigmatizing you. You may be just a normal thinking person. You may be just somebody that has a bright future ahead of you, and a narcissistic parent is going to destroy your reputation. They're going to destroy your vibes. They're going to destroy like a lot, and they're going to constantly be trying to make you look or feel crazy. They will crazy make you all the time. And it's exhausting. It's a constant competition. If you have any achievements or anything, they're going to constantly try to outdo you. It's like you don't have a parent And I think that whether or not a person goes through that all their life, or, and I think that those of you that did go through that your whole life, you are way more traumatized. But I think that, and I'm talking about serious, because there's levels to narcissism. If you saw subtle hints of this, but then, something like that happened, you know, your your mental can be very fragile, because that's your parent. That's your parent, that's your mom, or that's your dad doing things to hurt you, trying to purposely screw you up in life. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to relationships, I think the whole point of a narcissistic parent would be to make sure that whoever is in the life of that person treats them like a leper, treats them like an invalid, treats them like somebody that's not capable. I know for a fact that a lot of y'all that have narc parents, you are just wonderful, amazing people. And you'll go and you'll talk to the narcissistic parent, and it'll be like, that's not even the person. That's not even what I feel from this person. And so narc parents are trying to factually ruin everything in your life, and they ruin relationships. Yes, they do. They will ruin every relationship that you have. And some of y'all will say, well, my ex-husband is narcissistic too. But were they narcissistic when you met them? Or maybe, I don't know. I'm thinking that something supernatural is happening there. I think that, and because I am a spiritualist, and I think that if you meet somebody and and then all of a sudden they're a totally different person, that all of a sudden they just sort of change. You know what I'm saying? I think, I don't know, and it, surely you don't want to empower a narc parent to that capacity, to where you would say, okay, something happened, but it's very, very possible to turn someone against somebody. That's what the narcissistic parent does, is they turn people against their own like literally, it's just like, wow. And then all of a sudden nothing is real. You start to, so a lot of us that have had those very traumatizing experiences, a lot of us end up isolated. A lot of us end up isolated. A lot of us end up, just, man, not us, but well, a lot of people that have went through that, they go through exactly what the narc wants you to go through. The narcissistic parent wants you to trust no one. The narcissistic parent wants you to be afraid of the world. That was their whole point. They did not want you in particular. It's almost like you're a sacrifice. They feel that by harming you or destroying you in some kind of way is equivalent to them destroying some aspect of their life that they feel that they need to destroy. For example, for some reason, the embarrassment of the marriage ending, or either a rejection from your father. This is a huge one, probably in a lot of the cases. And I think that it depends on the influence, but I also feel that it depends on the parents, the narc parents' parental instincts. Because most parents, they the type of parents to where, this my child, and whatever happened in the relationship with the father is very separate. Very, very, no, this is my kid. I love my child. You know what I'm saying? Like, narcissistic mothers, will take out everything. Everything is the child's fault, even the actions of a grown man. So, and they are very delusional. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Lavender. Hey, Zenaida. Hello. How are y'all this morning? Mm-hmm. So, oh God, if your mother, Zenaida, if your mother is good at turning your kids against you, then you need to do some work. You need to do some work. If there was any point where I felt that my children turned on me, oh, I didn't, oh, no, I had to do work on that. Because, and it's important because it is important to make sure that, especially if you want to look out for them, because if the narcissist has any influence at all over your children, you got to understand that they are subject to a life of misery, because narcissistic people, they are miserable on, they make things miserable. You know what I'm saying? They make other people miserable. You know that you may be having a good situation or a good vibe going on, and then the narc will come in and they will, well, you know, everything is discounted. You know, they don't want things to be positive. They want things to be negative between you and everybody else in your life. So that's why they do that. You couldn't fall asleep. Lavender flower, I went to sleep around 7 or 8 o'clock last night, and I slept kind of off and on. I woke up for like maybe 20 minutes and went back to sleep. I don't know why I'm so tired. I know that I'm about to do a cleanse on myself because, yeah, I've been extremely fatigued. And no, I am not pregnant, in case anybody wants to know. Yeah. When I did that live the other day, though, and I was talking about how your man should treat you better than your father, I think that there are narcissistic fathers out there that a lot of times their daughters, their love life is always extremely compromised. Hold on a minute. Okay, sorry about that, y'all. Sorry about that. I'm back. Yeah. Yeah, hold on. I'm sorry, y'all. Somebody has been trying to do work on Jacob, and we all know who that is. We ain't even gonna talk about it. So, yeah, yeah. Somebody has been sending bad energy to Jacob, and they're gonna get it back. Okay. Yeah, he's up, and he's been kind of, yeah. And this is something that I go through off and on with him because there's my mother is a witch, and there's other witches that she works with, and they attack my son. So I just, yeah, it sucks. All right, y'all. If I could ever get my point across here, it would be nice if I could ever get my point across. And for, I'm gonna tell you something. A narcissistic person, that they can't really be responsible. They can't really be responsible because you know they're always, I don't know why people like to attack children. Guys, I've been meaning to, I'm gonna do a separate vlog about witches that try to attack children, or if your mother is a narcissistic witch, how you can have these bursts of strange, odd behavior from your kids. But Jacob is an awesome kid 99% of the time, literally 99% of the time. If you are a medium and your child is a medium, then they can be affected by spirits, just to let y'all know. And a lot of people, and I mean, it's still like, I think it's probably going to be, I think that this is only known through the spiritual community, but I think that more so it's going to be talked about more so within the next 100 years, finally, about mediums and children that are, very sensitive children. And, if you have somebody that's childish, they can't really reach anybody but a small child. So if you have a small child while you're under some kind of spiritual warfare with people that they just like to mess and meddle, there are people in this world that like to manipulate things for good. And then you've got your people in this world that like to manipulate things in a negative fashion. Narcissists are typically hell bent on destruction. Okay, they usually are. So, anyway, I've got to get his herbals together. I got to start giving him his herbal tincture again, probably. But we've had less and less of these weird spiritual anomalies with Jacob because, yeah, because he's had he's had a lot of people doing work on him. Even, you can tell. You can tell. I've been dealing with that since he was probably about 2 to 3 years old. Um, it's just crazy. Otherwise, normally he's a calm child. He's very happy. But yeah. Anyway, so your father, His energy is going to have a lot to do with your relationship with the divine masculine. If your father decides that he hates women, or at some point in his life he decides to lose his mind, or even if it's your whole life, you're going to find that relationships with men can be so much more difficult. Again, if your father was not up to the no good, your father would be able to talk to you. They would be able to have a conversation with you. It would be normal. It would be normal. Like, hey, I'm gonna, regularly keep in touch. But let's face it, we generally don't make excuses for parents like that. There is no excuse at all. You can look at a man and say, okay, somebody must have been doing work on you, and that's why you acting weird. But when it comes to parents, they don't get excuses. They don't get to have an excuse as to why they are either attacking their children or their grandchildren. You are supposed to be a parent. There should never be a demon. There should never be an entity that causes any parent to attack their children or grandchildren. Like I said, because there is a parental connection. So obviously if the parent ain't no good, they're going to, you know what I'm saying? And this energy, like I tell people all the time, even people that are adopted, like, did you know your parents? Did you know your father? Did you know your mother? Do you have any idea what went on in that? Because you'll find these strange spiritual anomalies that will be happening in your life. I mean, of course, the parent could have an entity attachment, but and you yourself, which is why I was supposed to do my cleanse like a few days ago. I got to do that. I think it's important for spiritual people to take care of the situation whenever whenever you're a spiritual person or you have spiritual gifts and the family starts to get ripped apart and things start happening, the adults, the elders have got to take responsibility. You can't just ignore it and go, oh, a lot of the times they're, like if you have a child that's a medium, and kids are automatically going to have bad behavior every once in a while. That's just how kids are. That's how they learn. But a lot of the times, people will be facilitating that, especially if they're angry at you. Like if you're like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's terrible. I know for a fact that when my son was being attacked, his first 5 years of his life, my mother enjoyed that. She enjoyed seeing him attacked mainly because he's mixed. So it depends. Okay. If you have a Black parent that hates white people and you go and you have a mixed child, they may not be the best person to that child. They may not be accepting. Okay. So, and it's a big difference. I've even noticed a huge difference in raising Jacob. It's nothing wrong with Jacob at all. He's just very sensitive. He's a medium and he responds to negative energy and information that's being sent to his mama, his brother, or either him. Okay. And you can even tell that's what these people are doing. And it sucks. But I'm going to tell y'all something. If you ever need help with your children, a lot of people can't determine when a spiritually gifted child is under some kind of possession or either having black magic placed upon them. And what a lot of ignorant people will do is they will beat the child into oblivion, and every single time something happens to, thinking that they are correcting the behavior, but then they're only making the behavior worse. Okay, so that's, I actually saw somebody doing a video the other day about um, parents, not just African American parents, but parents can become possessed. The children, everybody in the household is under possession, and nobody is aware of what the hell is going on. So when you are a parent, you have to be strong. You have to be woke. You cannot sit here and allow demons and entities and black magic to mess with your household in that sense, because I've seen them doing it. I've seen them doing it. Okay. And you can even tell people will try to use your children to harm you if they're upset with you, which is disgusting. I think that narcissistic people to me, and there's a lot of people that will say that they're narcissistic, but they're not. Narcissistic people, in my opinion, I think that what we're going to find out is that this is like an early onset of dementia. And so they will act like children. Oh, I'm upset with you. I'm going to attack your children. Huh? What? I'm an adult. You're an adult. Why can't we have an adult conversation? Why my child got to be bought into that? Because they're childish. I have never in my life sat down and targeted anybody's child, especially a small child. I have never. Now, when your child becomes an adult, and they're able to have a thought process, then that would be another adult having a disagreement with another adult. But a child is vulnerable. They are. There's no such thing as, well, I guess there could be a such thing as bad children, but I know for a fact that my narc mother demonized my youngest son in the same exact way that I was demonized as a child. When I was little, I was not only a medium, but I was always picking up on other energies and spirits, and I was put under possession a lot as a child. And if you are a medium, you are born that way. You are born that way. So your parents should be spiritually educated enough, when instead of saying, oh, my child is stupid and crazy. My mother used to like to say that a lot. And it's been a stigmatization that has followed me my entire life. Knowing that a person does have the capability of being a normal person, the parent is sort of like constantly, it's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah, I swear to God, and I've been talking about this for a very, very long time. And evidently this came up because Spirit wanted it to come up. People that are attacking children, I'm talking about small children, teenagers, anybody's child. You shouldn't be attacking anybody's child. Now, if your child has a disagreement with somebody, a lot of times it can be just a disagreement that can be worked out, unless it's a person that is their intent is to just mess with your kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, are y'all following what I'm saying? Because it's crazy. It's crazy. That is why I handle, I'm gonna tell y'all something. Spirit handles people like that. You should not be bringing children into your arguments with people. But there are a lot of the times they are very weak. They can't really spiritually affect anybody except for the children, but typically they can affect the entire household. I don't know why these people want to be like terrorists. Some of y'all family members are acting as spiritual terrorists, and you know that that's what they're doing. Stop thinking, and they'll say, "Oh, you're blaming me." Well, it's the, and they know what they're doing. I'm telling y'all, it's kind of difficult to explain this. They told me that Jacob, for example, they tried to say that Jacob was autistic or weird or off, basically, is what they were trying to say. And you, a mother, you know your child, you raised your child. And again, that's another example of medical witchcraft that I talk about a lot. There is no such thing as autism, in my humble opinion. I'm just saying, they tried to say Jacob couldn't talk. Jacob talks just fine. He's literally, they tried to put ailments on my child from the day that he was born. And I'm just telling y'all, you got to know your child. Otherwise, you'll take your child to these doctors. You'll have them, you'll have like this, you'll have them give your child medications, or if you have a child that is a medium, or and why do adult mediums and psychics and people that know that spirit can affect them, negative spirits can affect them, but for some reason they don't believe it when it comes to a child? Oh, it's something wrong with this child. Oh, I got to take this child to the doctor. Oh, I got to go and get some. Never once did I ever in my life, and I'll never do it. I'll never go. And I'm not speaking negatively about you women that have done that, because many of you guys just don't realize it. That's why we're making changes. But I personally, probably throughout the years, could have used a SSI check with the shit that I was going through with my son, but I never did it. I never did it, and I never will. Hold on, y'all. Sorry, y'all. I had to grab my sage stick. So back to what I was saying, because I kind of got thrown off a little bit. This is something that people are going to start talking about more often. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because I can only imagine. I feel that I may have had some of my behavior may have been sort of similar to my son's, and that's why my mother labeled me as stupid and crazy my entire life. I was not stupid and crazy. I just needed to be spiritually protected, period. And I know it for a fact. And of course, some people just won't admit it. They'd rather stigmatize you. They would rather say that it's something wrong with you instead of what's actually going on. You're right. You're right. It is up to us to And it's up to us to not get like sometimes, and you can even tell because Jacob is a happy kid 90% of the time, like 90, I'd say 98% of the time. He's happy, he's, just, but then every once in a while, it'll be like this blip in reality to where he will, and it's gotten better and better. And so I think that people, especially y'all that have these spiritual gifts that run in your family, you have got to be aware of what could be happening. And instead of raising this child to think, oh, I'm crazy, when they're actually a medium, when they actually can be sensitive and affected by spirits, instead of saying, oh, well, this is a mental illness. It's not a mental illness. It's not. It's not. It's spirit. It's spirit that could be working through that child. It is. I'm telling you what I know for a fact. Again, the medical industry has their fingers up our butts because they want us to label our spiritual gifts as crazy so that they can either medicate us for big pharma or either make money off of stuff. So it is what it is. You ever have anxiety and you go to the hospital? Any of y'all ever did? I ain't did that in years. You ever have anxiety and go to the hospital and it ain't nothing wrong with you? And the nurses and stuff, they comfort you and they say, oh, there's nothing, there, your heart looks fine. You're fine. Okay. And they will reassure you and you'll say, okay, but then you'll walk away and you'll go home and they can bill your insurance company. Or if you don't have insurance, then you're going to get a 3, 4,000, sometimes even $10,000 bill in the mail. It's a money game. It's all about the money. Medical witchcraft. Oh, the hospitals have been kind of empty. Nobody's been sick. We got to make people sick. I'm telling y'all that is going on. And I do believe that they have witches because I've heard these witches bragging, oh, I'm going to make you go to the hospital. Why? You want the hospital to make some money? That's why you said that. Y'all got to start paying attention. I'm telling you, and stay woke. Stay woke. There's a lot of different types of witchcraft. There's the witchcraft to the ultimate. I'm gonna tell you that one is not that bad. The medical industry is a puppy a lot of the times, but they have become a I'm not even going to go there because I think that's how I got dinged the last time. But, you know, institutions such as mental institutions as well as jails, you realize that there has to be a certain amount of crimes committed in order for the police and the judges and the lawyers to make money. There has to be. Y'all don't hear what I'm saying to y'all though. If they're like y'all, a lot of people say, oh, why is the crime increasing? Why is it increasing? It's just constantly increasing. Because they're increasing their money. They get more money. The more crimes that are committed towards people, the more money they make. Go look at the Gabriel Fernandez story on Netflix. It was so clear to me, especially over in California. It was so very clear to me. And of course, they used a black woman, but this black woman in there that I think she was either like she ran the police department that literally they saw that boy covered in bruises. It was obvious, but they did nothing. Okay. And so, again, they're there to clean up the crime after it's been committed. They're not necessarily there to prevent the crime from being committed. Okay. And so this black, she was like the chief. I can't remember what her title was, but she was so proud to say that I run one of the largest police departments in this area. We are the largest. And when she said that, I said, damn, I said, the police ain't there to prevent crimes. They are there to take the souls. That's the problem. They are not there to protect anymore. It's changed. It's changed into a money game. That's why I always tell people, if you feel some kind of violent spirit inside of you, you have to fight it, because what they are going to do is they're just going to make money off of you, which is so ridiculous. They complain about how much money it takes to house an inmate, but that is federal money. So in order for them to grow, and so it's like, well, then why isn't more work put into preventing crimes? And so you got to understand that is the dark side of our reality. Yes, it is an industry, and you statistically, you or even your family, you could be sitting in your home, and then all of a sudden one of those spirits will pop up, and there can literally be a person that has had no violence, no violent tendencies, nothing. And then all of a sudden violence can just erupt in your household, or violence erupting in the street, or, so they cannot tell me that all of them. I do believe that, and this is not to say to demonize police officers, because there are a lot of police officers out there that are good, that actually care about people and don't want to see bad things happen to people. They don't usually last very long as police officers because they see all of the negative things that happen. And, literally the only way you're going to stop those negative things from happening possibly is by fighting against the witchcraft that is being created to even create the growth. Because our police departments, there shouldn't have been more police departments. When I was in my hometown, they had a police department that was on, I think it was on 63rd, and then another one it was like on 23rd and Cherry. There was a police department. Probably around in the 1990s, they had to build a new police station up on 75th. I was like, why did they need to do that? So as the crime increases, and as people get more and more confused, and as, these demons get more and more powerful, they have to create these police departments and these hospitals and stuff, so that they could have more places for people to go, either when they're injured or dying, or, they've got to have more jails. But the problem is that the actual jails became overcrowded. If they start building more jails, then that's when it's time to get concerned. And that's when okay, they are opening up more space. They want to convince us that people are just flawed and people are bad. But I see the underworld. So I know a lot about the underworld. And I know a lot about people that manifest money with negativity. And I'm talking about, they have to be in the negativity. The judges, the lawyers, whenever they get through, they could be somebody that is so it's kind of like, how they say insurance is a necessary evil. All of it is evil. All of it should be. So, for example, if everybody was to just stop committing crimes, would the police have a job? They have a quota. They have a quota that they have to meet. It's like, are you serious? So The witchcraft is everywhere. It's present everywhere. If you don't think that you're ugly or imperfect, if you don't have a problem with the way that you look, then plastic surgeons wouldn't get paid. So if you went to school to become a plastic surgeon, wouldn't you need for people to have a problem with the way that they look? You would need for people to have a problem with the way that they look. Because if they didn't have a problem with the way that they look, you would not make any money. Y'all understand what I'm saying? So the Industrial Revolution, I wish we could go back sometimes. I wish we could go back to farming and people living a real life. When everything got industrialized, this is where you'll get more people, you know. That's just like I'm not even gonna bring that up. I can't, it's some stuff I can't because it's too much, but because I've already said a lot. Did you really, Zanalda? Zenaida? Yeah. 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 And I think I'm gonna revisit that reading because I don't really think that I got very deep into the generational curse that was on Gabriel's family and how the mother was so damaged by it that she couldn't do anything for herself or her son. She couldn't do anything. So anyway, like I was saying, with Beltane, I think that what spirit is trying to do is spirit is trying to balance things out to where a person to where especially when it comes to your love life, to where whatever the hell it is that was affecting your parents should not affect you. And so your parents will say, well, that's not fair. I went through hell. I'm alone. I'm unhappy. My life was screwed up. So why should my child have anything different? That is what is happening. That is what is happening. Okay. If you are somebody in your 30s or 40s and you meet and you fall in love with somebody and your mama is in her 50s or 60s and she has made certain choices in her life and she feels unloved, she feels like nobody wants her, then and she feels as though she's lost hope, then 9 times out of 10 you may be experiencing something negative in your love life, especially if the parent is not accepting of it. I know that for me, if nobody in this world ever was to love me and I were to never find somebody to love me, a man to love me, there would be no way in hell that I would allow my children to go through that. The cycle would end with me if that's what it was meant to do. But a lot of y'all, the cycle was meant to end with it was meant to end with your grandmother. It was meant to end with your mother. But a lot of y'all will say, you know what? Okay, I'm going to make sure that I end this cycle in my family. I'm going to make sure that I do that. And okay, fine. I'm going to make sure that my children have happy lives and that they have a happy experience while I fight this demon off of my children. And as a mother, I'm willing to absorb all of it out of my selflessness. Okay. Out of my selflessness, I'm willing to give myself to that. I'm willing to say, you know what? Okay, fine. You know, you know how Kevin Samuel says that we're going to die alone. Okay, let's make sure that that same demon doesn't affect our children. Really? Have you had a reading? So, yeah. Anyway, if you are somebody that refuses to give up on love, but you feel as though there's this weirdness. I've seen some of it doesn't make any sense. Some of the sweetest people that have the best intentions, and they may not even be perfect all the time, but they may have this demon that, and this happens even with your lovers. That's why people don't just break up with people. They don't just walk away from people, because it's like, wait a minute. I can recognize the love, but then again, what is this other energy? So that's why you can't just go and say, oh, I give up on relationships and I give up because a demon has scared me off. If we were to all just say, up, somebody didn't do something perfect, I got to walk away now, we would all be alone, every last one of us, because probably about 80% of the population around the globe is generationally cursed. Yes, yes, Gaia. We were talking about that. Gaia said domestic violence runs in my family. And if I'm ever in a genuinely happy relationship, both my grandmas and my mom and all my sisters would be very jealous deep down. And trust and believe that that domestic violence is going to manifest in all of your relationships. I talk to women all the time. In fact, I actually just did a reading for somebody, and it was very eye-opening because, it was something that ran in their family. It was just every woman in the family ended up in an abusive relationship. And I actually could see a male spirit that was actually about 4 lifetimes ago that for some reason hated women and was literally trying to destroy all of the women in her family. Okay, that's why you got to be careful if you're a man expressing too much hatred towards women, because we know who you are. That means that you are affected. You are afflicted by that particular demon, and it's many demons because it multiplies itself. And if it finds some kind of entryway into the family. So a lot of times people will just say, oh, well, men are just inherently evil. Well, that's not always true. That's not always true. So the big thing about the demons that we are fighting with is the stigmatization on everybody. And it's affected people so much in their lives. And there's a lot of women, they like, look, if at the end of the day, mm, that's a shame what people are actually dealing with and going through these days. It's a trip. So if your father has a problem with your mother or relationships or is bitter, you'll find that you'll attract this into your relationships. And so, for example, if you are a woman that came from a broken home, and then maybe the men in your family or your father didn't really appreciate women, you know, there's a lot that I could reveal about my parents that I won't. And but I can tell you that sometimes I do think that I should sometimes be a little bit, I don't know, a little bit more empathic. I think that if somebody is literally attacking your children, though, it's kind of difficult to be empathic towards that person. But I can tell you that sometimes domestic violence can and will cause damage, a significant amount of damage. to a person's mind, body, and spirit. It can be very damaging. And so, especially if your mother was beaten on by your father, or he, you know, and there was damage that was done to the person's mind, their brain ended up damaged because of that. You may end up having a very negative experience in your family, and usually society, they don't actually focus on that. They'll send somebody to anger management, but anger management is just going to give a textbook definition of how, and anger management actually does work. I think that the field of psychiatry, can be very helpful. But I think that if we continue to ignore the spirits and the demons that can be in people sometimes, as a society, we are doing ourselves a disservice. So in the next 10 years, I promise y'all are going to see the field of psychology and even the medical industry. They are going to start becoming more spiritual. They already have. You can go to the pharmacy and you can choose to get a powerful medication that's probably going to cause more problems, but you can also go and you can get natural homeopathic remedies at the pharmacy these days. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Gaia. And you know what? That can be so difficult, especially if you have a principle of the family that is saying, no, this is the way that it is. Men are like this. Men are abusive. Men are violent. Men are cheaters. Ain't none of them. And so that can be a lifelong fight. That can be a lifelong struggle. Is it worth fighting? Yeah, it is. I think that it is. I think that people shouldn't just cower in their homes and say, oh, I'm just going to be alone and unhappy without taking some kind of action to do something about it. Now, some of y'all have that generational curse of poverty over your family. And so this is why anytime you get a job opportunity, if your family members, your mother, your cousins, people in your family, if they harass and stalk you at your job, if they're trying to do things to get you fired from your job, if they are slashing your tires so you can't get to work, more than likely that is a generational curse that's over the family of poverty and struggle. Because what they are trying to do is they are trying to stop your stepping stones. They're trying to, a lot of people that start their own businesses, they look at jobs as a stepping stone. You're going to need that job as a stepping stone, for your business that you're going to start. That if anybody in your family is taking any sort of initiative to stop your paper, that is the generational curse of poverty. Some of y'all have several different curses over your family. And if the family is facilitating this, then you know exactly what it is. Because yeah, that, and it can be a generational curse of poverty, can either be multi-generational, or it can be of a current generation. It depends. If you have a narcissistic mother that doesn't want their daughter to surpass them, think about it. 20 years ago, 50,000 a year was a lot of money, wasn't it? 30,000 a year. So if your narcissistic mother doesn't want you to surpass that, which makes no sense because in the past 20 or 30 years, the economy has inflated and tripled and quadrupled. Everything is more expensive than it was 20 or 30 years ago. So you got to think, if that is a curse, if your narcissistic mother or father feels that you shouldn't surpass them and they're doing everything in their power to make sure that you don't, then that's a curse. Because how could they possibly expect for you to have less or either equal to them when times are different? So that's another issue. They shouldn't try to limit you at all. It shouldn't even be a question. It shouldn't even be, that's why a lot of y'all don't tell people how much money you make. Don't do it. Don't do it, because I'm telling you, because especially if you have your own business, don't tell folk how much money you done made at your business. Keep it to yourself, especially because if they are doing that, because that's the whole point. Narcissistic mothers and fathers, they don't want the child to surpass them. But in reality, we have to. That's just like in another 10 years, my children are probably going to need to make double the amount. They may need to make 3 times the amount that I did. Hello? Exactly, Joanne Pendleton. Hello, that's what it is. They may have to make 3, 4 times the amount. What kind of parent would I be to say, well, I made this amount? I made 99,999 per year, and that's where I want you to be. Well, in 10 or 20 years, that may put your children in a impoverished position. So, and I think that it takes a certain amount of intelligence and not ignorance to understand that. All of your parents should be okay with you earning more money than them. I mean, let's face it, unless the family has millions or billions of dollars under its belt, unless you're like the 5%ers that have that hold a majority of the wealth. But most of us out here in the working class, this is what people are not thinking about. So you got to be smart about that, and you have to know about the economy. You have to know about money. You couldn't possibly be that ignorant to where you think, oh well, when I was your age, I was making 35,000 a year, so that's where I think you should be. Mm-mm. 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 No. Wrong answer. Wrong answer. And that's a direct message from spirit. Direct message from spirit. Your parent should not, a narcissistic parent is possessed. They're not thinking that they're possessed by the demon of poverty. Most parents that are narcissistic, if you have the demon of poverty in your family, they are possessed by the demon of poverty, because that is what creates poverty. A person with an outdated view. Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. I have to make, for example, if your mother made 50,000 a year, and you shouldn't even be comparing it. It shouldn't even be a comparison. People should make what they want. People should earn the money that they want. But if you were to do a comparison, if your mother earned 50,000 a year at the age of 40, then these days her daughter or her son is going to have to make 2 to 3 times that amount in order to make it, in order to not be considered impoverished. If your mother or your father or anybody tries to stop that, then they are working with the demon of poverty. Period. Period. And that is something that I have pointed out for years. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, Zenaida. Oh, yeah. She's definitely not going to accept that. I remember years ago, I had actually applied at a job within a company that my mother was with. They did 2 interviews with me. I know they were going to hire me, and I know she stopped it. And that's okay. I'm glad she stopped it. I'm happy that she stopped it because I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing to this day. I'd be stuck and limited. So I'm glad that she did that. At the time, I could have used the money for my children. Mm-hmm. And you know what, Joanne Pendleton? Mothers that did that, mothers that they said, okay, I'm going to let my husband take care of me. There's really nothing wrong with that. But if they are trying to push that off on their daughter when you have another purpose and you're meant to take another path, then that within itself can be a curse because the mother wants you to do the same exact thing that she did. And that wasn't in the cards for you. It was meant for you to do something else. Maybe it was meant for you to build with your partner. I know that right now in the past 20 years, the twin paradigm has came up, and this is when you have a divine masculine that is your divine other or your divine person that you're supposed to be with. You are not supposed to, first of all, your parents were not supposed to be interfering at all. This was the whole point of the revolution. Some of them are still trying to force you to and it's very inorganic. It's not organic. It's not. So there was no husband. Oh, wow. So she was a maid then is what you're saying. Wow. I assumed that it was that she was a housewife when you said domestic worker. So she was a maid and she never did anything to advance herself. Did she try to stop you? Did she try to stop you? Did she try to make you a maid also? Like she didn't want you to surpass that? My dad has no money to provide for me financially yet, doesn't like that I'm a dancer because I make my own money. I'm like, Dad, what the? He told me to get a job at McDonald's. Wow. Wow. Okay. She always encouraged you. Okay, well, that's good. At least she encouraged you to do more than what she did. And that probably was actually better that your mom, because if you have a mother, like a lot of us that have mothers that are very, what's the word that I'm looking for? Ambitious, and they had children and they weren't strong enough to manifest financially what they wanted. And so a lot of our mothers blamed us for being born. Our existence was a problem because somehow they failed, and it's our fault because they had a kid. If I would have never had a kid, and then not to mention this kid is surpassing me, and so sometimes ambition can go a little too far. If you had an ambition and an ambitious parent that wanted more than what they ended up with, and then they look at they look at their daughter or their son and they see them surpassing them. Well, and typically it's the daughters. In my family, it was the men were constantly encouraged to go to college. The women were not. The women were not encouraged to go to college at all in my family. In fact, in my family, if you didn't marry a man that had money, you're just a loser and you might as well just let it go. That's just the way that it was. And if you couldn't keep a man, even though it was like, oh, you're a failure. You're a failure because, and no, 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 don't go and try to actually earn the money that you want. You need to have somebody because you're not supposed to make over 50,000. That was their marker. It was 50,000. If you are making more than 50,000, you are in direct violation of that demon. You are in violation of that demon, And instead of you earning 50,000, you need to go get a man right now that can match up to what you got so that you're not going above 50,000. I'm serious. And I'm like, well, what? And then they'll say, well, that's not what it is. Yes, it is, because that's exactly what your actions, everything that you've done, everything that you can see that everybody is doing, the women are not supposed to surpass the men in the family. They're not. Is this predicated upon by the men? Uh, Not really. These are values of the women in the family. But ain't you supposed to start your own tradition? That's why when I do readings for y'all, I get really excited when I see the Ace of Pentacles upright, because that means that it is new money. That means that it's a new concept of money. Yeah, and you know what? You should depend on yourself, but in reality, if your mother says that you can't depend on a man, then you're never going to find a man that's dependable. So that's why they need to quit with those models and those indoctrinations. Oh, you can't. My mother told me that too growing up. And consistently throughout my life, I've ran into men that either didn't have much or either didn't want to do nothing for me. And she'll even tell my men, don't do nothing for her. Let her do it all on her own. And these men should look at her like she crazy, like, wait a minute, do it, but make her do everything on her own. She's even said that. I know that for a fact. Don't do nothing for her. Make her do it all on her own. But in reality, none of us just wanted to do it on our own. We were just surviving. Not only were we surviving, but it's also a part of your life path. If it's meant, for personally, I think that their interference has had a devastating effect on our health, our personal relationships, and our money. They shouldn't be saying anything at all. If you just leave the child alone, leave your children alone. Stop constantly trying to interfere and indoctrinate people. Stop trying to indoctrinate the people in their lives, because and see, that's why the first conversation that I have with any man in my life is that you don't have to meet my parents. That's the newest thing, because in the past 10 years I realized that even when it was a man that was around that was normal, I had, like, years ago, and it just wasn't meant to be, it was meant for me to be where I'm at now. But years ago, there were several men that had jobs, they had cars, they were not on drugs, and my mother ran those men off. So, these days, there's no meeting my parents. And a lot of men are just going to have to accept this, because a lot of times our parents were there to just manipulate, but they were there to manipulate in a negative way, and it set a lot of limitations and caused a lot of issues. For example, for me, I am a high priestess. I was born this way. If I'm the man that I'm with, he has to know and respect and value my power as a woman. If he were to go and talk to my mother, she would tell him, "Oh, she ain't nothing. She ain't got she can't make no spell work. Oh, she ain't doing nothing." All the people in my family was losers. They didn't do nothing like that. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that they will do. So it's sad, but it's the truth. A man that's with me, he has to know my ability to manifest. He can't be thinking that I'm crazy, even though we see everybody else manifesting. Just for some reason, my mother wanted people to think, oh, she's just crazy. And then when I proved what my power was, that was also a problem, which it shouldn't be a problem. A man shouldn't have to feel that you are a problem just because you have money manifestation capabilities. That shouldn't be a problem for him. That should be a bonus. That should be a bonus. That should be something to where he should feel financially secure. There's nothing wrong with a woman that is, because a lot of times, even with these men that we get with, they come to us, they don't really have no job, or either they probably need to make more money. A lot of times a woman can take a man and she can mold him and manifest within him more money, but then they'll say, oh, don't do that because he's going to leave you for somebody better. Well, why would somebody even have that fear? Why would you even fear that? And it's not to say that the woman has to pay for the man to go to college. So we've seen it in the movies. We've seen it a lot. This is a paradigm that to where it'll be a movie. For example, what is that movie with Whitney Houston in it? What's her name? Angela Bassett. She got married. She was his secretary. Okay. And she basically built his company. Right. Remember that movie? I can't think of the name of it for some reason, but I know it had Angela Bassett and a couple of other, Loretta Devine was in it. And so she actually, in the movie, she actually helped her husband build the company. And then he decided he wanted to be with a white woman. And so he got with this white woman. And so this is an actual fear that a lot of Black women have, which is why they don't want to do anything to nurture Black men, because they're scared that he's going to leave her for a white woman. I don't have those fears. Waiting to exhale. Exactly. Waiting to exhale. Yeah. It's like, and it's like, well, and so it's crazy because that is an actual fear. So what this will do is this will cause Black women to be very unnurturing and very distrustful of the person that they're with, because they are afraid that it's going to kill them. They're afraid that this man is going to leave them in the dust. Okay, in the dust with nothing. And that movie, it showed how, but I have never, I'm gonna tell y'all something, never in my life, and that was just a movie. We can't necessarily judge by what we see in the movies. I have never in my life ever known personally a black couple that the man had all this money and he decided to leave his wife for another woman. First of all, the Black man ain't really had that much money. That was just a movie. There are Black men that do make money. Yes, it is. But I like it's not something that happens often. It's not. So why that would even be a fear of women makes no sense. And so Black people are going to have to start waking up to that. Yes, you do. We manifest. I don't know. My memory has kind of been running away from me lately, guys. I don't know what's up with that. But, you do manifest your fears into reality. Everybody does. If you have a fear that something is going to happen, lo and behold, it will happen. So spiritually, what we need to do, and yeah, I bet you that has happened to a lot of women. I don't know any of them personally, I don't know any of them personally, but I have heard of women. And it's kind of like, okay, if that were to happen, I would go see a spiritualist, because I would say, why would this man betray me in such a way to where for years I built him up and he decided that he was going to take what we built and give it to somebody else. I would go and see a spiritualist and say, what the hell is going on? That sounds like some witchcraft to me. I ain't even gonna lie to you. It sounds like somebody else wanted to take your man and wanted what you have, and they succeeded. Y'all would be surprised as you would be surprised, like you would be shocked to know how many people use witchcraft. People, it's something that is literally not paid attention to. So a lot of women will say, oh, he left me because I got older, or he left me because of this. Or sometimes it can be that maybe the relationship just dissolved because it was meant to. But if you are just like thrown for a loop and you like, wait a minute, something ain't right here, and then all of a sudden this man don't want to give me nothing. This man don't want to give me nothing, and he dogging out my kids, and he don't want nothing to do with the kids either. He don't want to do. Something ain't right with that. Y'all better go see a spiritualist and see what y'all can do about that. Instead of just sitting up there having wine with your friends, telling my girl, all these men ain't worth nothing. They all ain't worth nothing. While this other witch done took your man from you and done took your money. Mm-hmm. And you have to go to court. You have to actually sue him to get something out of him because he don't want to give you nothing. Something ain't right with that. Something ain't right with that. Please believe that there probably possibly is a shortage of men to the capacity where a woman would do something like that. A woman would, there's women out there that will use witchcraft to steal what you got, which is crazy. That's why if a woman is really in love with a man, I'd say, leave everything that you have. Don't bring nothing. We'll rebuild together. I don't want nothing that you built with that other woman. That's how you know if a woman is genuine or not. Otherwise, she just want to take what another woman built, and that ain't the way that it should be. Because and see, that's why when it comes to love and money, you got to be careful with that, because I'd rather a person not have a damn thing at all. I'd rather him not have a damn thing, maybe $500, $1,000, something to buy me some flowers. Otherwise, I don't want shit else that you built with that other woman. I don't want nothing from your mama. I don't want nothing from your daddy. In fact, I don't want no kind of family bloodline money, because that money got that money got spirits on it. I don't want none of that. I'd rather it be a brand new situation. And believe it or not, you know how many couples walk away from that shit and they earn 200,000-300,000 in a year just by putting their energy together. Okay. Did that happen to you? Joanne, contact me then. Mm-hmm. Oh, you saying I need you because I love him. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you this, that, every woman ain't no gold digger. I can make my own money. I can sit up here. I've done it. I've done it. I've been doing it for years. So if somebody says, "Oh, you just want his money," well, I got my own money. If I were a man, I would rather have a woman with her own money. And that doesn't mean that a woman with her own money is going to tell you, "I don't need you," because y'all know they made another movie. Only it wasn't a black man. Nia Long was in this movie. And she was a successful businesswoman, had her own money, and she kept telling her man, "I don't need you." That ain't necessarily right to do that. You ain't got to have that attitude. You know what I'm saying? Men do like to be needed, but men should feel actually good about a woman that does earn her own money and wants to be with them. That should be something that they should feel good about. Instead, that's why people should keep their relationships to themselves, and don't go talking to people about your relationship. Stop talking to people about what you're doing. That's it. That's all it is to it. It ain't nobody's business. It ain't your mama's business. It ain't your father. A lot of us that are in our 30s or 40s, we don't have to care about whether or not our parents agree with our relationship. We don't have to care about that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having an income. I think that if people already have that going on, it leaves less room for a lot of the complications. So as a woman, I'm definitely not gold digging. Now, I do want him to have enough sense to know about money manifestation. That's the one requirement that I have, is that he have enough understanding of, that's all that I need for you to know. A lot of these men, they're walking around with these frequencies that are not good. It is a good thing that, because a lot of us, we didn't get our money from our parents. Currently in this lifetime, a lot of us are descendants of kings and queens and empresses. That's how we able to manifest that money, because of our own power. In fact, when you're too stuck on what your parents are talking about, your parents should be. So during the revolution, I think it was it the French Revolution or something, where, the kings and queens, they would force their sons and daughters to marry. Y'all need to go. A lot of people need to really go and look at the story of Henry VIII and a lot of them back during those days. And even a lot of, if you're African American, a lot of our history has been lost. But in reality, there was arranged marriages and stuff, that the same exact thing that was going on. And, even though they don't really tell our stories, they don't really get into, the only thing we know about Africa is that the white man raped it. That's all they tell us about Africa. But we actually have a rich history, and there was a revolution there as well that we're not paying any attention to. So, for example, when you look at the way things used to be, marriage was never about love. Never. It was about either duty or some kind of peace treaty. Back in those days, a man would say, "Hey, I want to do a treaty with you, and I'll let you marry my daughter." So marriages were not based upon love. And these days they are, and they should be based upon love. They shouldn't be based upon all that other stuff. There was a whole revolution that happened. Why anybody would go back to that? We're supposed to be setting the tone for the future. That's the whole point of the age of Aquarius. So, that's why when you see people that get married in the church, or they take marital vows at the justice of the peace, that's why most of those marriages are cursed. That's why they're mostly cursed, and they don't work out, because that history of that, where that started. Okay, hey, Ryan's daughter. Hello, sweetie. I ain't seen you in a minute. Mm-hmm. They would send her with a dowry, exactly. So, but okay, surely you know that times are different these days, and is there something wrong with that? Is there something wrong with that, with men and women out on their own recognizances, mingling with people, and that's the way that it's supposed to be. So it's very difficult. The past is haunting all of us every single day. Every single day, these energies and spirits that existed 2000 years ago, the past is always playing out. I do believe in that. I do believe that even though we're in the current, I do believe that the past is still playing out. Like, it's not like, okay, it's the past, it's gone. I don't believe in that spiritually. I believe that whatever has happened in the past, this is still going on. I feel like it exists on a, like that. It's like a time travel continuum or something. And I believe that a lot of the times we can This is how spiritualists are able to see in the past, and they can see things in the past because the past can still be going on. But I think that it can mix. I think that sometimes the past is kind of bleeding into our current reality. The past can, for example, I've seen people that are totally in the past and they're experiencing high school, literally. Why is that happening? So I think that life is a lot more complicated and than what we think it is. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe in, that, crucifixion and stuff like that. Like I don't. So I think that, yeah, and you know what? It's for me, I feel like it is, but then again, I feel that everybody has the right to say, hey, that was the past. This is the future. That's just like a lot of people. If you make any mistakes in the past, your past is not supposed to determine your future. Your past, if you've done something in the past life, a lot of us have paid our dues. For example, y'all know my past life history. I talk about it a lot. In fact, I've been having crazy past life regressions for like the past couple of weeks. Dreams, dreams of being in places that it's like, what the hell am I doing here? And, as a spirit coming into this life, being very ignorant and not understanding when my past life regressions first started coming up, I was very ignorant as to why it was happening. And then I learned more. But y'all got to understand that there are a lot of people, a lot of y'all may have been either very bad people or very good people in one of your previous lives. If you died in the previous life, like you died, well, everybody had to die and they had to transition somehow. And you died and your spirit you already went through that. Y'all realize that I know for a fact that I've been to hell. I've been to hell. I've been there. My spirit had to pass through hell because of the life that I lived and the people that I hurt. My spirit was in torment. I paid my dues. I feel like I paid my dues. Then when I manifested myself in the 1930s and was reborn, lived a shorter life when I was reborn, that life was, oh God, it was hellish. It was hell. It was hell. And I've been picking up on my mother's energy from the previous life. Why I'm so connected, I have no idea. I think that we all are, but I think that it's very easy for people to ignore it. They'll ignore it. They'll say, nah, that ain't what's going on. So like, for example, I grew up in a magical family. It wasn't biblical at all. It was not religious at all. I grew up with witches in my previous life. And these witches did a lot of black magic, a lot, a lot. In fact, I'm probably still working off some of the negative karma from the black magic that I did in the previous life. You heard me? I'm still working that off. Okay. And it's just the reality. It's no need to a lot of people get frustrated. They go, ooh, every time I feel like things are going good, something happens. You know what? The way that I see it these days, I don't even get upset about it no more. I just do the work. I just do the work. If I feel like something unfair is happening or somebody's doing something unfairly to me that has something to do with the crazy shit that I did in the previous life, I just say, you know what? I'm gonna do a cleanse. I'm about to cleanse myself. That's why I told y'all I have clients that come in probably every 3 to 4 months that get cleanses. Yeah, I'll just do the work. I don't even question it. I don't even get upset no more. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does have to be. Yeah, you're right, Orion's daughter. I agree. Yeah. Well, and you know what? It's not just middle school vibes, but I can imagine that at a strip club, you're going to find a lot of people with some level of sexual frustration, maybe problems, maybe sexual issues. You know what I'm saying? Which, you know, you know what I'm saying? I can imagine that you probably have ran into some of the men at that strip club and you probably can even sense some of the demonic entities or some of the demons that they have. Gaia Love, have you ever had a cleanse? I think that if you are working in that kind of business, the same thing if you are a nurse or if you're a doctor and you're dealing with the general public, I think that cleanses are important for you to regularly clear yourself of other people. If you have people touching you and you have people passing you money, you know that money has spirits in it too. So, make sure that you are clearing yourself of those energies. But I kind of feel that you do. I kind of, because I talked to you before, and I think that you already do clear yourself of that stuff, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember all of y'all readings. Yeah, just do the work. Just do the work and don't choose victimhood. Seriously. Seriously, because spirit will people are afraid of spirit. Spirit, and when people say what is spirit, what is that? A lot of people that when spiritualists say spirit, it's just it can be many different things, whether or not it's energy or spirits from the past. It doesn't necessarily have to be a ghost or a spirit, but it's just kind of like if you were to, like, for example, y'all know they got those ghost boxes and stuff. And spirit can be saying anything at that moment, whether or not it's good or bad. So I just, as far as my experiences in this world, I take them as being spirit. And not at any moment am I gonna make, you can't necessarily, spirit is always talking and always saying something. Doesn't mean you have to be afraid of it. Why is it saying it? What is going on? And what is the spirit that's saying that? Mm-hmm. Mm, mm-hmm. Well, I agree, Orion's daughter. There are a lot of men that are sort of lost in translation. They can, any of them can be lost at some point. Are we supposed to condemn them though? No. Nobody should be necessarily condemned. You know what I'm saying? And you just have to let that person go their path and do whatever they have to do and not allow it to affect your path. which can be very difficult because if they have attachments to us, then, because I know that the my ex, he had a huge attachment to me. I would always pick up on his energy energetically. And when he passed away, it was not easy on me. It wasn't at all. It was terrible. It was a horrible feeling that I had gotten when he had passed through. But, I'm healing. And, because I had to deal with my daughter's losing a father that probably would have been here much longer if he would have been responsible with his person. Okay. And so that was difficult, to see your children go through losing their father at such a young age. I think that was the worst impact that it had on me. You know what I'm saying? Like that was really the worst thing, being an empath on top of going through that. And I think that that's why people should burn candles for people that have passed, maybe even burn some ancestor money, maybe even make them an offering to help them transition so that they can feel comfortable. But see, that's because I'm a medium. So, yeah, sexual trauma, exactly. And those are some really, really bad demons. It is. Yeah. Yeah, I think when we talked, I had suggested, because we talked, and yeah, I kind of, I don't record all of my readings, even though I probably should record you guys' readings. I don't do that. So I don't remember, but I do remember suggesting that you cleanse and clear yourself. It's not about necessarily cutting people off. It's not about that. It's about those negative entities or experiences that leave they leave a footprint on you that you don't necessarily need. You don't need the footprint of negative energies from the past. You don't need those things. I was going to say that I feel that you heal people. Hmm. I think I remember you telling me that too during our reading. So, but I'm going to tell you that that some of the best cleanses are those fire cleanses too. That fire is amazing. In fact, I'm going to start wrapping this up, y'all, because I got to go and put my fire pit together. I have not been really doing what I'm supposed to be doing, y'all. I got tons of petitions to burn. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. It's like, I hate it when I let my petitions build up. And so I'm going to actually be burning all of my petitions again, which coincidentally, I'm trying to think of when the last time I did that, where I just took all of my petitions and burned them. They should be burned immediately, honestly. Got to stay on the toes. That's why I get so frustrated when people try to interfere spiritually. I always tell people, family members, please, you just don't understand what I'm doing. Please don't put more on me than what I need. How many times have I said that, guys? I say that all the time. Please don't put more on me than what I need, because I'm already dealing with enough. And you know what? It can be something that people that serve as a negative distraction, and it's so very draining. Spiritualists have to stay on top of things like that, not just for the clients, but for ourselves. Having all of that stuff can be a spiritual problem. And our spirit guides fully support what it is that we're doing. Nobody should be trying to interfere with people's spiritual journey. That is a mistake. That is a mistake that religious people will do. I beg them every day. I am begging them today. Stop doing that. You know about one way. You know your way, and we know our way, which is the spiritual path that we have taken that has been rewarding to us. It's not hurting nobody. People that feel like, oh, I'm hurt. She's a spiritualist. She's hurting me because of some ignorant reason. Oh, it's competition. Oh, I don't want to see her go anywhere. Stop it. They've got to stop with that. I'm telling you, it's a huge problem because what they're doing is they are actually upsetting the balance. So again, when you see a religious person thumping on a Bible and telling you you're wrong, you're evil, that is a past life problem because it was meant for us to evolve from religion. It's a terrible cycle. It's a terrible cycle, y'all. It really is. It's terrible. Okay? I'm just telling y'all what I know. They have got to stop interfering. And what they do is the same thing as witchcraft. We can feel their interference. We can feel it. They'll get to going to these churches. They'll get to doing rituals. They even do group rituals. It's like, can't you see that even though you're claiming that you're better than me, but you're actually in a religious coven, and they refuse to accept it, and that spirit of hypocrisy, oh my God, I'm allergic to it. I'm allergic to hypocrisy. Hypocrisy within itself is a demon. It's terrible. It holds up everybody. It's like, would you just stop? Stop. This is the way God wanted me to help people, and you may have your own way, but for you to try to interfere with other people's way, there's a problem. You know what I'm saying? And then they'll say, no, well, this way is better. No, it's not. That's not what God is saying. That's not what was meant to be. And their reason for doing it is jealousy, which is not a very good reason. So the ones that are thumping the Bible, they are carrying around all of the 7 deadly sins that they talk about, which makes no sense. You realize that there are a lot of practitioners that are feverishly trying to get that off of people. That's a very bad thing to have on you. That's a bad spirit to have on you. Because what is hypocrisy? Hypocrisy leads to what? Ignorance. It does. So yeah, but Orion's daughter, I can tell you that as a spiritualist, when these people get to thumping on their Bibles and they got the whole congregation, you can feel it. And it's it's just a sickening feeling. The spirit, they're all hypocrites. Everybody that set up in that church and judged people that did it their own way, they were all hypocrites. Religion is nothing but another form of witchcraft. If you go to your Bible and you read a verse out of your Bible meant to be directed at somebody, you are still practicing witchcraft, period. Period. I don't care what they say. They can say, oh no, I'm just in it with the Lord. Well, if you just with the Lord, why are you talking about me then? What I got to do with you and your Lord? What does what I do have to do? What does what I do directly affect your relationship with the Lord? It shouldn't. It's not supposed to. It's called hypocrisy. This is the reason why so many people, the whole world has questioned religion, because we were supposed to, because it's called evolution. It's called a spiritual evolution, and it's very harmful. I was told, somebody, Gaia Love, was that you that said that? Somebody said that their father told them that crystals were evil. I think that may have been that may have been. Crystals are not evil. If you, I'm gonna tell you something. One thing that I know about crystals, if you feel in any kind of spiritual energy in any area of your body, you can take a quartz crystal, hold it up to that area, and literally you'll feel totally different because the crystal will absorb that negative energy. But it's gotta, I feel like it depends on who's using the crystal. That's not evil. A crystal healing somebody is not evil. However, trying to sacrifice somebody, that is evil. So what's the definition of evil? And you know what they'll say? They'll say, and this has been a big mistake that even the creators of the religion have said, damn, that was a mistake. They damned everybody because they told everybody, they said, if we sacrifice this person, they're going to move on to a better place. But that is not what happens. What happens? What happens with these human sacrifices? They stick around. They haunt people. They create civil unrest. They are fighting. Those spirits are not moving on to no heavenly realm. They are clawing their way through into our world somehow. That is what is happening. And they cannot, but they ignore it. They'll say, oh, that's not what happened. Because really, to be honest with you, heaven and hell was a concept that it was, you were taught to create your own reality of heaven and hell. And depending on what you did, your belief in where you're going, whether or not it's heaven or hell, that is what was happening to you. So whatever it is that you believed in, that is what was happening. For example, I mean, then I do believe in gods. I do believe in that. I do believe that the person that I was in a previous life, I felt like I went to hell because I had that belief. But then again, I also felt as though I did get punished because in that lifetime, I hurt people. In the last two lifetimes that I lived, well, the one previous to this one, I was sort of forced into doing it by my mother. My mother was a very evil, dark witch. She was so evil. From the time I was born, I was spiritually gifted in that life too, but I was taught to use that power for evil. And I was forced to curse a lot of people. I would just curse people, just innocent people that didn't do anything, you know, people that were married, you know, you curse people, you know, just break up their relationship just for the hell of it, just for the hell of it. You know what I'm saying? And so that within itself, and so I think that when you have those experiences, I think that you sometimes you can't help it. Like for example, I don't really believe that I could help the lifetime that I was Ma Barker. I couldn't help that. Why? Because I was raised in poverty. I was hungry. I was hungry. Spent many, many nights going hungry because I was born into a poor family. So instead of being hungry, I said, I'm going out to rob some banks so I don't have to feel this hunger, so that I don't have to not only be hungry, but malnourished. So a lot of that stuff, you know, it could have been, and so that's why, so there's a reason for everything. And I never forget an interview that Tupac did. And Tupac said, you got all these people in the hood, they hungry. They gonna start banging on people's doors. So the whole concept of rich or poor has always been unfair because technically there should be nobody that is suffering from poverty. This is something that was created, so it's all unfair. It is. Okay, that's not something all of God's children was supposed. to have food to eat. They were all supposed to benefit from this earth, but for some reason they didn't. Whether or not it was from selfish people that gobbled up all of the wealth and said, we're not going to give it to these people because, well, you know, uh, who are your parents? What are you? Well, you know what? And so that, that's why do y'all think that the government is giving away money? They about to send out the fourth stimulus checks in the month of May because they know that that whole concept has been bad. Now what we have is we have a lot of people generationally with generational poverty to where if they did have money, they would be able to do evil with it. So now it's all about, if I give you this money, that's what spirit is looking at. Will you take it and go, and now that you've got money, are you gonna go and try to pay people to kill people that you didn't like? Or are you gonna, you know what I'm saying? Or are you gonna do something evil with it? So spirit is guarding people like that. Y'all remember, and you know what's crazy is that I just saw, I don't know why I can't never remember this man's name, but remember when he did that skit, Dave Chappelle. He's back to normal now. He done lost weight and he looks back to himself, his old self. It's weird. But you remember that skit that he did when he, he was like, they should have never gave you niggas money. It wasn't about black people. It's just about a person that has money might use it to do evil to another person. And that's not what you should be doing. You should not be using whatever money that you have to do evil. Maybe defend yourself. Maybe if somebody has sent you some energy, you can send it back. But for you to just go and say, oh, I feel like doing something evil to somebody, so I'm going to go and I'm going to attack this person because I can see them doing this, this, and that. And so that's why spirit will cut people off financially, because some of these people, if they had money, they do very evil things with their money. And we got enough people that are doing evil stuff with their money. So it literally is. I told y'all what is happening. I'm going to tell y'all what spirit want. Spirits want peace on the earth. They want peace. They do. Hold on a second, guys. Can you get your brother for me, please? Please. Oh, that's a good boy. You cleaned up?
Yes, you never get.
Well, I wasn't mad at you. I wasn't mad at you. That's what I said. So you cleaned up the mess you made? Thank you. Can you go get your brother for me? Thank you. So, spirits want peace on the earth. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. And anybody that is creating an unpeaceful situation, like I'm telling you, even with witches, honestly, they do want us to be love and light. They do, honestly. They do. They do, honestly. It's been way too much. The whole world, since we are in a transition, we are in sort of like a spiritual transition, so to speak. We are like in between. Like if you were to describe heaven and hell, we are in between that world. Like and it just it's kind of, it's been flip-flopping, and then there has been people that, and you do have to be patient. You do have to be patient because these energies are very powerful. Thank you. Huh? Spirit been telling me in more than one ways, y'all, that they want me to quit smoking cigarettes. So it's definitely time for me to quit smoking. So, that's going to be coming up real soon. Anyway, that's yeah, I'm done. I've been here for over 2 hours. I hope that y'all enjoyed this conversation, but I do think that a lot of the stuff, like what I was saying with the original conversation that I was having, is that sometimes a lot of y'all will have that negative aspect of the masculine. And so, and you can Google it, like you can look it up on YouTube. There are thousands of videos of people speaking out about narcissistic mothers and fathers. All of these people are not lying. All of these people are not, they'll say, oh, well, you're ungrateful. But in reality, it was meant for you to raise your children. You weren't just supposed to work and pay bills. You were supposed to work and pay bills, and your children needed love too. They needed love. They need to feel secure. They needed for their ideas to be respected. They needed that. Yeah, yeah. And my spirits are saying that I'm gonna quit very, very soon. Trust me. Cause I'm starting to, the smell is starting to get to me. It's like, ew, like and that's how I can tell that it's time for me to quit because of the smell. I don't really like the way that it smells. And so, yeah, you guys are welcome. I will see y'all later. Okay. Um, I gotta go because I'm actually doing a couple of cleanses. Now, I love my cleanses because it's no need for anybody to feel bad or to, you know what I'm saying? And you can tell that it's a lot of people. I can feel it, like the whole energy in the world. It's just a lot of people that are just feeling kind of sick and off balance. And then since they did these vaccines, it's just gotten worse. Yeah. So thank you, Joanne Pendleton. I will see y'all later. Peace and love to y'all. Okay. Bye bye.